Hi, my name is Heather O'Neill, and this is my Module 8, Internal and External Communication. The chart that I used is the Lucid chart. I had never used anything on the list, so I just picked something and went with it. After I watched a few peer videos, I think I would have picked something else because I think it would have been faster for me to complete this module, but it was nice to learn how to use the Lucid chart to make the flow chart. The creation process wasn't too difficult once I got going. It would have been easier if I had brought my mouse home. So note to self, next time I do that, I will. It was easier once I made a separate text box or created the text box with my little squares, because when I used the template to begin with, it was hard to write my text. I wasn't able to hit enter and drop it down. So that made it a little bit easier when I created my own text box. Then I could move the whole shape without having to have multiple boxes to move. The standards I used were ISTE 2D, communicate effectively with stakeholders to gather input on the plan, celebrate successes, and engage in a continuous improvement cycle. Communication is definitely vital. The more transparent, especially the school can be, the better the support the community is going to have for you, and buy-in. Technology is a great way that we can show that transparency by communicating more often, but it definitely doesn't replace that face-to-face contact. And I think as an administrator, that face-to-face and those relationships are still very, very vital in building that support and that trust in the school and in the community. The second standard I use is the NELP 5.2. Basically, this is cultivating relationships, collaborating, engaging community members, partners, and others that could benefit, school improvement and student development. Positive relationships benefit all publics, especially in a small community, which is where I live. The school tends to be a leader in the community by hosting events, supporting events, and it seems to be a focal point in the community. So the more community support and engagement, the more benefit for the future of the community. That encourages our students to go off to further their education or explore the world and then come back and raise their families. So that strengthens that our community, for the future. The next part, the public description. I separated mine internal, obviously, and external. I chose internal of anyone who kind of works or is in the school on a daily basis or a regular basis. I did put just teachers and staff, but I feel like that staff includes, the custodians, the paraeducators, the building aides, the secretaries, and so forth. And then, we do a lot of communicating by email on a daily basis, by, making phone calls, that face-to-face contact, with the school board. We may do a written proposal or something like that, a written document, but a lot of times that is even still done face-to-face with a phone call or an email. And then on the external side, we have really good, I feel like, communication. Could we be better? Absolutely. And I feel like we're continually looking for new ways to do that by utilizing, the new technology that is out there. But, the first one that I listed is community leaders and parents. Many of these overlap in our community. It is a small community, and so many times these are the same people. They're the same, moms that are on PTO that maybe work in the school, that have a local business, and that are part of the, community organizations or the local church. But parents usually have the loudest voice. So by communicating with them, we can encourage positive communication. You're still always going to have some negative feedback, but, the better off we are of sharing that information, the better we share our information, the better off we are. We use social media. We have a a weekly newsletter that goes out on the elementary side. We use School Reach or School Messenger. We do a lot of face-to-face, especially when parents come in to pick up students from after-school clubs, from after-school reading programs, things like that. We obviously utilize email and phone calls as well. We communicate a lot with local businesses, and they're very supportive of the school, whether it's with their time or, a monetary donation towards a specific event or something like that. They are very supportive in academics, of the arts, of, the elementary PTO, the high school and junior high booster club called Bearbackers. They definitely support our sports events as well. We utilize email, those face-to-face contacts, again, because a lot of these business owners are tied in with the school as being parents or have had students that have graduated from the school. We utilize social media and phone calls. One way that we've started, we utilize our website, and I forgot to mention that earlier, but the high school students last year started doing something called OSCE Air. So it's a little, news clip that they're creating that goes on our website, but that allows, just another form of communication that someone can listen to what the news is, going on a weekly basis in the district versus just having to read it. Another thing that we have, a resource officer that shares part of her time in our school. We definitely communicate with her. I've communicated with her several times this year, just by luck, a lot of times by email though, or I leave a phone message for her and she plays phone tag back with me. So we definitely utilize phone calls. If she's in the building and I happen to catch her, we utilize face-to-face communication. She does some walkthroughs and then, participates with the staff for professional development days. And so that allows us to build that relationship with her as well. The next point that I made is the local churches. We have definitely very, very supportive local churches. They provide basic supplies for students as needed, book bags, school supplies. They also provide for my own personal classroom, toothbrush, toothpaste, hairbrushes for girls, deodorant, extra clothing to keep in my room in case it's needed to wash a student's clothing, shoes that they can wear during the day if theirs are not adequate, and I communicate with those, members a lot of times by phone or email, but several of the gals that are really involved in the church also sub or are paras at the school, so I definitely utilize that face-to-face communication as well. They're also pretty good about keeping up with our social media, our Facebook pages and such. And then the last thing I noted were our community groups. We have the Lions Club is very supportive. They're always hosting events and tying them in, as much as we can with the school. And we advertise any of those community events or community groups through our weekly newsletter on the elementary side as well and on the website. We also have, an active Rotary Club in the American Legion. So all of these are very active in our community, and they try to support the school as much as we can. The school tries to support them as much as we can as well. I think a strength of ours is, communicating with our parents, maybe not as much with the rest of the stakeholders, but I do feel like we do a good job of communicating with those parents, which again overlaps as community members. So I do feel like all of the things that we have going on, the PTO monthly newsletter, our monthly minutes from the PTO, we have, a newsletter. On the elementary side, we have Facebook pages. We have the OSCE Air, the website. We have Twitter accounts. Many of the teachers do. So I feel like we do a really good job of communicating with, those parents and those direct contacts of the school. We definitely could be better at that, though, and reaching out to more of our stakeholders. But I feel like a weakness that we have is maybe not building that relationship quite as much with our resource officer and our law enforcement. I feel like having them in our school a little bit more would help our students to develop that relationship with those officers and, just give them another outlet of someone to talk to if they're in a rough situation, just building that relationship a little bit more. obviously in all areas we could do better, but I feel like communicating with everyone, not just a blanket email or a blanket social media post, but still continuing to build those face-to-face contacts. That's definitely, I think, to me personally, the best way to build relationships and to keep that communication open. The relevancy of this assignment, I definitely think communication is a vital resource. I'm a special education teacher, and sometimes I kind of feel like I get lost in the cracks because classroom teachers communicate to each other, or principals communicate to classroom teachers, and I kind of get left in the cracks sometimes. So I'm always on our new assistant principal about improving our communication, and I feel like we do a better job on the elementary side, as my principal always sends out a weekly email on the elementary side. So just encouraging that junior high school side to maybe follow his lead and take that next step to communicate with everyone. But I do think that communication helps to bring that support to the school and to the students. And then I thought this was a great assignment. I actually went and talked to my assistant principal who just got her doctorate. So she's kind of my go-to about any school questions that I have, and especially on the administration side, to see if we had a document that was already created like this in our district, and we did not. So this will definitely be something I am sharing with her, that we can maybe sit down and add to and keep on file. So that way, as a school and as a staff and as administrators, we can look back at that and continue to grow and make sure that we're not missing some of these focal points that we think are so vital for our community. So I think that's about it, but I definitely will be sharing my document and building it more and more with her. So thanks for watching. Appreciate it.